Hello, hello, hello. All right, what you're looking at here is a 2006 Kona Stinky. Now, this is the bike that I have right now, the only bike that I have. And so I got this bike from my uncle. It was actually my cousin's bikes, and they were several years younger than me, but they were already growing real fast and had grown out of it. So I got it from my uncle, and it's the bike that I've had probably now since I want to say 2008 or something like that. And I just recently overhauled it. It had it had just kind of run down. And me coming from the BMX world, I hadn't really figured out how to do maintenance on mountain bikes. I had set up the shocks once, at least the rear shock for for preload and stuff, but had never touched hydraulic brakes, hadn't really messed with the derailleurs, and so it was just kind of intimidating to me. But a couple of months ago, I started getting into it. I said, before I, go out and try to buy a new bike, I'm gonna see if I can get this fixed up, right? So I put new seals on the drop-off triple, which isn't a great fork. Some people would even say it's pretty bad, but it's what was on it, and I would again, I didn't want to swap out a big piece like that, but new derailleur cables, and I did put on brand new brakes because the hydraulic fluid on one of them had leaked and corroded everything. It was just terrible. So I got in there and I learned how to do the derailleurs and whatnot, and I have taken it out for a couple of rides. Put on some new tires, and it's working fine. It's working good, and but I've also, of course, been excited to look into the new bikes that are out there and just see really how far it has come in the past 10 years. So a couple of the bike brands that have really stood out to me and really spoken to me are Transition Bikes and Fezzari. Fezzari is out of Utah, and they got some really cool bikes. I had been on their site and I emailed them through the what bike is right for me type of thing and filled out a little information. Got back a good email from them saying outlining a few options and saying here's your good, better, and best option type of thing. And I really appreciated that from them. And so I've been really looking at their bikes. I don't have the money for one of those right now. One of the amongst all the awesome things that I've been learning about mountain bikes as they are now compared to 10 years ago, it has come kind of the sticker shock where I know this bike, the Stinky's not top of the line, but that was my kind of frame of reference for a good bike, right? A good bike is, I don't know what this was new, maybe 1,200, maybe 1,500 bucks, something like that, right? And now they're saying, a budget level, decent mountain bike is 3 grand. And, and, so that was kind of a shock, but I know really seeing where the tech has come, and, I put this thing on the scales the other day, and this thing hit 40 pounds. Like it topped 40 pounds. and and you can get enduro bikes now. Other bikes with travel like this one's 170, I think, both ends, but you can get 160 millimeter, 170 millimeter travel bikes that are under 30. So it's crazy, right? Stuff's changed a lot. Components are way better. So and this wasn't a top of the line bike even when it came out in '06, and I know that. So um, anyway, I thought from the recommendations that I got from Fezzari, they had recommended one that was really more of a cross country bike, and one that was a trail bike. And I was like, yeah, I just don't know if I want like a trail or get some more enduro. The stuff I ride out here in North Carolina, in my area, is not. Um, it's not super chunky. It's not super steep. I don't live in the eastern part of the state, so but I hope to get out there sometime, and that's really where you need more of a downhill bike anyway. But anyway, some of the Fezzari bikes, they're like their Signal Peak, pretty much everything. Some of the things south of the LaSalle Peak, which is more their only enduro style. Those are what were recommended, and I was like, you know what? I wonder how the geometry actually compares to this 2006 Kona Stinky that I have, because I know the trend has been towards slacker head tube angles, right? So that this angle right here is leaned back further this way, and the seat tubes are straightening up more and more. So I thought, how does a downhill bike from 10 years ago compare to a new, say, trail bike or enduro style bike from today, specifically from Fezzari? So I was thinking like, how am I gonna I get my camera, or do I, take out my angle finder out in the garage and try to like hold it up and sort of pseudo measure, or use like a weight and a level and a plumb bob to try to measure the angles. And I was like, wait a minute, this is silly. I can just I can just stick the picture here in my drawing program and figure out the angles and compare them themselves. So that's what I did. So anyway, if we take a look at this, I'll turn on my little guides here. So we've got a head angle of 67 degrees. So the way that I figured this is I just lined it up as best as I could with the geometry of the bike and made sure that the wheels are flat. And I believe this one's pretty true. So if we take a look at the head tube angle here, you can see I've got a negative 23-degree rotation on it from straight up and down. So negative 23 would make that one 67 degrees, and similarly for the head tube angle, right? We got negative 17 on here, so that makes it a 73-degree seat tube angle. Sorry. Okay, so that's what my Kona Stinky is set up with. So if we overlay, that's another cool thing with a vector editing program, because I wanted to see how the more modern geometry is. So if we overlay, we'll take these off real quick. Overlay the Fezzari Cascade peak. So that looks like that. This is one of my top contenders for when I should save up enough money for one of these awesome machines. So if we just take a look, like in between, and take a look at these differences. So a couple of things stand out to me. First of all, the bottom bracket height, right down here where the bolt goes through the cranks, you can see how that's gotten a good deal lower, right? So up here we've got the Stinky, and down here, right? So we've dropped that. But just overall, the other thing, when I took a picture out in the woods of the Stinky the other day, I was like, it just looks weird in a picture. Like I must have a weird angle on it or something for it to look so stinking tall up here. But it's not. That's kind of the way that it is. Being maybe more downhill, that the frame just goes up so high, like the bars sit. Uh, let's see, I'll draw. Oops, don't want to do that one. Let's not do that. Let's take a new one here. There we go. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Anyway, um, okay, so let's turn this cascade back on. So if we try to compare, you can see actually, right, the head tube angle maybe slackens out a little bit, and the seat tube angle is pretty close. So if we put on my little guides here, all right, if we look at this. So the head tube angle is 66.4 degrees. So it's just zero point 0.6 off, or yeah, zero point 0.6 off of the Kona. And the seat angle is 75. Although if we put this one on, this rectangle is that's negative 14.6. So that's um, man, I must have. Oh well. So, but the seat tube angle is pretty close. But see, I was having a hard time figuring out what the seat angle was, because um, like I was not getting anywhere close to 75. That's a negative 15. But as I learned, I dug into it. Like, how do they on the LaSalle peak, which I'll show you in a minute, they list out the difference between effective seat tube angle and then actual seat tube angle. And I was like, well, how do you get those different? Like, it's just one angle, right? What changes? Well, what changes is where the seat tube runs. Does it run straight through the bottom bracket or not? So you can see in the Stinky, uh, turn off the whole thing here. In the Stinky, it goes straight. It goes straight through. It basically bisects your crank arm right there. There's no bend or anything. Whereas whereas in the Fezzari, it actually would pass kind of in front of this if it was straight. So the angle here, so of this piece here, you can see negative 14.6, which is a negative 70, what is that, 5.4, or a 75.4. So that's pretty close. My measurement obviously is going to not be quite as accurate. Theirs says 75 degrees. Um, but if we were to actually take this over here, you can see like the actual seat tube angle is is much closer to that 770 degrees, right? So it's even maybe um, a little bit more than the Kona there. But so the cool thing though, I took away from it, right? It's very close, 75, 73, 67, and 66.4 comparison between the two bikes. I was like, wow. When you compare like a downhill bike from 10 years ago, it's almost, at least in those two numbers, the geometry is very much the same. So it just kind of shows you how things have kind of slackened out a bit. And obviously, we're running 29-inch wheels now on the Fezzari, where it almost looks comically small here on the Stinky, these 26-inch wheels. It just maybe that's kind of what contributes to the weird looking proportions there. So but we'll take this one off and let's put the LaSalle Peak on here. And we'll overlay that one because this thing is a massive difference. Even when you compare it to the Cascade, right? It slackens things out, and the seat tube is just crazy steep on this LaSalle, or yeah, on the Fezzari LaSalle Peak. So when we pull that up, you can see here their Fezzari's measurements is that the head angle is 65, so it's 2 degrees more, right? So and I actually measured about a 64, but again, I'm using I'm using rectangles here on a drawing program, so I'll take their word for the 65. It's still 2 degrees steeper. You can see if I that one's right at 64. And then they've got their effective seat tube angle, and then their seat angle actual is 75, which supposedly is about the same. So if I turn that one on there, that's your effective seat tube angle, right? That's the angle that it actually sits off of the vertical. But they say that the effective, or that's the actual angle, but the effective seat tube angle, because it kinks up and then back over, um, putting you more over the cranks to give you better pedaling efficiency. All these things, man, I've been learning now. So that's your if we take a look at that one, you see that's negative 12. So that's 78 degrees, which is what they say, 78 degrees. So that's the top of the seat tube right through the cranks there is your 78. And again, just overlaying this thing, it's crazy how different this is because they label this as an enduro bike. They don't even have, I don't think, a downhill model. Um, but compared to 10 years ago here at the Stinky, it's way slacker and the C tube is way steeper. Um, so that gives you, of course, much better again pedaling efficiency. You're right over the pedals rather than sitting behind it. So your uphills are good, and with that slacked out head tube angle, your downhills are really nice too. So anyway, I hope you found that a little bit useful, a little bit educational. It's certainly been educational for me. I think the one thing that is still different is the massive brake rotors that the old Stinky had. 200 and was it two? I think it's a 203 front and rear on that thing compared to the smaller ones on this. But obviously the brakes are better on this Fezzari. So anyway, I thought that was just really interesting. I'm still hoping that eventually I can save up for one of these two uh, really nice Fezzaris. Um, and yeah, I hope you found that helpful. If you've got other questions there, um, put them in the comments. I'll try and answer them. Although I know most have been answered before, or a quick Google search will answer those for you as well. But thanks a lot for watching.